Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. Buckle up, as it's a long one, and don't forget to listen to the end of the story to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and please like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My 29 female, fiance, 33 male. Let's call him Jake. And I had been together for 5 years, engaged for 1. We had what I thought was a strong relationship. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but we always managed to work through things. At least that's what I thought. We had a good life together, stable jobs, a nice apartment, plans to start a family, and I truly believed we were going to spend the rest of our lives together. But last year, after a series of arguments that didn't seem to resolve, Jake suggested we try couples therapy. At first, I was a little hurt by the idea. I thought we could work things out on our own, but he was adamant that it would help us communicate better and resolve some of the issues that had been bubbling up, like how we handled stress, our future goals, and balancing our time together with his increasingly demanding work schedule. I wanted us to succeed, so I agreed to it. That's when we met Mia, 41 female, our couples therapist. From the start, I liked Mia. She seemed warm, compassionate, and very experienced. She had this calm demeanor that made me feel like she could help us get to the root of our problems. During our first few sessions, she helped us unpack some long-standing communication issues and gave us practical advice on how to handle conflict better. It felt like we were making progress, and I was hopeful that we were on the right track. But over time, something started to feel off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it at first, but I began noticing how Jake seemed more invested in the sessions than before, like overly invested. He'd always been somewhat distant about our therapy discussions when we got home, but now he was eager to bring up what Mia said, almost like he was hanging on her every word. I figured it was a good sign at first, but soon it started feeling like he was more focused on Mia's input than our relationship itself. A few months into therapy, I started noticing more red flags. Jake would mention Mia outside of our sessions in casual conversation, sometimes making odd comments about how insightful or different she was compared to other people. He'd say things like, "Mia really gets me," or "Mia thinks we should work on this," as if Mia's opinion mattered more than mine. He even started texting her outside of our sessions, which I thought was weird, but he brushed it off as being about our therapy homework or scheduling. There were little things too. Jake suddenly became more interested in his appearance. He was buying new clothes, getting haircuts more frequently, and even hitting the gym more often. When I asked about it, he said it was just part of his self-improvement journey, something Mia had encouraged him to focus on. It seemed like a positive thing at first, but then I noticed how much attention he was giving to what Mia thought of him, and it made me feel increasingly uneasy. I didn't want to be the jealous fiancé, but something didn't sit right with me. I brought it up a couple of times, and Jake reassured me that I was imagining things, that he was just really invested in making our relationship work, and that Mia was simply a good therapist. He even called me paranoid when I suggested that it seemed like he was more emotionally connected to her than to me. I started doubting myself, wondering if maybe I was reading too much into things because of my own insecurities. Fast forward to a few months ago. Jake had started coming home late from work more often, claiming he had extra meetings or was working on a big project. I didn't think much of it at first, but one night, something felt different. He hadn't mentioned any late meetings, yet it was well past 10 p.m., and I hadn't heard from him. I tried calling and texting, but he wasn't responding. My gut was telling me something was wrong, so I decided to take a drive to his office to see if he was still there. When I got to his office, his car wasn't in the lot. I sat there for a moment, feeling sick to my stomach, and then I remembered something. He had left his laptop at home that morning. I knew he wouldn't be able to do any extra work without it, so whatever he was doing, it wasn't work. That's when I decided to check Mia's office, which was a short drive away. I had this horrible sinking feeling, but I told myself I was being ridiculous. There was no way, right? Well, I was wrong. When I pulled into the parking lot of Mia's office, there was Jake's car, parked right next to hers. The office lights were off, but I could see movement through the blinds. I sat there for a minute, my heart pounding in my chest, hoping I was just imagining things. But then, as if fate wanted to confirm my worst fears, Jake and Mia walked out of the office together. He had his arm around her waist, and they were laughing, completely oblivious to the fact that I was sitting there, watching them. They kissed, right there in the parking lot. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Everything I had feared, everything I had doubted about my own instincts was happening right in front of me. I wanted to scream, to run over there and confront them, but instead, I just sat there, frozen in shock. After they left, I drove home, numb, not knowing what to do. When Jake came home later that night, I didn't say anything right away. I was too shocked, too hurt, and honestly, I wanted to see if he would lie to my face. He walked in like nothing had happened, gave me a kiss on the cheek, and started talking about how long his day at work had been. That's when I snapped. I told him everything, how I had gone to his office, seen his car wasn't there, how I went to Mia's office, and how I saw them together. At first, he tried to deny it, but when he saw that I wasn't backing down, he finally admitted it. He had been sleeping with Mia for months. They had started an affair not long after we began therapy, and they'd been seeing each other outside of our sessions under the guise of extra therapy work. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that not only had he betrayed me, but that our therapist, someone who was supposed to help us, had become the very person he was cheating with. I felt violated, like every session we'd had with her was a complete lie. Everything she had said, every piece of advice she gave, was tainted by her personal involvement with Jake. I wanted to scream, cry, and break everything in the house, but I just sat there, numb. Jake had the audacity to say that he and Mia were in love, and that it was meant to happen. He tried to justify his actions by saying our relationship wasn't working, and that Mia had made him realize what he really wanted. I was in shock, but the anger soon replaced the sadness. I kicked him out of our apartment that night. A few weeks later, I found out through mutual friends that Jake and Mia had gotten engaged. That's right, my cheating ex-fiancé was now engaged to the woman who had been our couples therapist. I couldn't believe it. They were planning a life together after destroying mine. While I was still picking up the pieces of my shattered heart, they were out there flaunting their new relationship like it was some fairy tale love story. That's when something snapped inside me. I knew I couldn't just walk away from this. I had been wronged, humiliated, and emotionally violated, and I wasn't going to let them live happily ever after while I was left with nothing but heartache. After the initial shock wore off, the anger set in. I didn't just want to walk away from this. I wanted both of them to feel the consequences of what they had done. Jake had destroyed our relationship, and Mia had broken every professional and ethical boundary imaginable. I wasn't going to let them get away with it. The first thing I did was contact the licensing board that oversees therapists in our state. I filed a formal complaint against Mia, detailing everything: her affair with my fiancé, the breach of trust, and the clear violation of the therapist-client relationship. I also sent copies of our therapy records, along with emails and texts between Jake and Mia, as evidence of their affair. Then, I took it one step further. I contacted several of Mia's other clients. I had their information from a group therapy session she ran, which I had attended once with Jake. I anonymously warned them about Mia's unethical behavior, encouraging them to file complaints as well. I wanted to make sure her reputation was shattered beyond repair. But I wasn't done. I also emailed Jake's workplace about the affair. I know his company had a strict policy about personal relationships affecting work performance and the company's name. Well, Jake didn't get fired straight away, but it looks like he was forced out after a while, because nobody could look at him the same way after what he had done. With Mia unemployed and Jake out of a job, their perfect little love story started to crumble. They had been planning this big wedding, something Jake and I had talked about doing before all of this, and I found out through friends that they had to cancel everything. They simply couldn't afford it. All their plans, their future, their big celebration, it was all in ruins. And honestly, I didn't feel an ounce of guilt. Jake and Mia are still together, but from what I've heard, things are not going well. They're living in a tiny apartment, both struggling to find work. Mia is completely blacklisted in her field, and Jake has had a hard time finding a new job because rumors fly very quickly in his field. Their relationship, the one that was supposedly built on love and destiny, is falling apart under the weight of their own poor choices. They barely have enough money to keep up with rent, let alone plan a wedding or start a life together. Meanwhile, I've been doing my best to move on. It hasn't been easy. The betrayal still stings, and I've had to deal with the emotional fallout of losing someone I thought I'd spend my life with. But knowing that they're suffering for what they did to me has helped me heal in ways I didn't think possible. Some people have told me I went too far, that I should have just walked away, let them live their lives, and moved on. but I couldn't just let them get away with it. They destroyed my relationship, broke my trust, and violated every boundary imaginable. I wasn't going to sit back and let them live happily ever after while I was left with nothing. So, am I the a-hole for ruining their lives and careers? Wow. Just wow. OP didn't go nuclear. OP did what had to be done. They completely violated OP's trust. Mia is supposed to be a professional bound by an ethical code, and she threw that out the window for her own selfish desires. And OP's ex-fiancé? What a cowardly, slimy excuse of a human being. They both got what was coming to them. If anything, OP gave them the exact consequences they deserved without waiting for karma to turn up itself. I'm glad OP didn't let them just walk away and live their fairy tale life after what they did to her. She did the right thing. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole, and as a licensed therapist, I'm appalled by this. What Mia did isn't just unethical, it's grossly unethical. She used your relationship as a stepping stone to her own disgusting affair. Her license being revoked is the absolute bare minimum she deserves. This wasn't about love between her and Jake. It was about manipulation and betrayal. You were well within your rights to report her and take action against your ex. They destroyed your relationship and thought they could build their happiness on the ashes of your pain. I have no sympathy for them. Not the a-hole. Honestly, reading this gave me life. I've never understood why people think they can cheat and betray someone, then go on to live happily ever after. You didn't just sit back and take it. You took control of your own story, and I'm here for it. Mia and Jake clearly didn't think there would be any real consequences for what they did. They probably thought they were so in love that it would all work out, but you made sure they felt every ounce of the pain they caused you. Good for you. Enjoy watching their dumpster fire burn while you rise above. Not the a-hole, not by a long shot. They played with your emotions, your trust, and your future, so you played them right back. Mia should have known better as a therapist, but she chose to cross every line. And Jake? Well, he showed his true colors, and now he's paying the price. Honestly, the fact that they couldn't even have a wedding because of your actions makes me want to high-five you through the screen. They don't deserve happiness after what they did to you. You didn't ruin their lives. They ruined their own lives. You just ensured they felt the consequences of their betrayal. I have a necklace that my grandma, Dad's mom, gave me when I was 16. My mom hates her because my grandma went no contact with my dad for marrying my mom. I don't know exactly what happened because they refused to tell me until I'm 20 for some reason. My mom did allow me to have a relationship with my grandmother, though. I could see her every 3 months. She died due to COVID a year ago, and I miss her so much it hurts. The thing is, my dad's family is extremely wealthy. Our family is not, though, since Dad was cut off. But for my sweet 16 party, I got to spend time with my grandma, and she gave me a beautiful necklace. She said it was for my wedding and for my future kids, since she didn't feel like she would live long enough to see that. My mom immediately made my dad check it out, and they even called my grandma demanding she take it back. Let's just say it was worth more than $19,000, but it was mine to keep at the end. I was never hesitant to wear it despite being so expensive. It reminds me of her, so I always make sure to wear it during any black tie events, like fundraisers, or a family member's wedding reception. Devon knows all about this. Not the exact price, but just that it's expensive. Also, Devon's family is not as well off as mine. She doesn't own a single piece of expensive, or I guess real jewelry. So when she asked me if she could wear it to my cousin's wedding, I allowed her to. I just wore another smaller necklace. I felt bad for her, so I gave it to her, but made sure to tell her to be careful. Well, she lost it. She was ignoring me for 2 days after the event, and I knew something was up. My mom, dad, and I went over and asked for the necklace, but I already knew something had happened. She was in tears, and her parents told us she didn't remember where she kept it. Our parents talked while we sat in separate rooms. Devon's mom came to me and said that if we had to pay back the money, it would mean they could no longer support Devon's college fee. I told her it didn't matter, and that I wanted her to pay me back no matter what. We talked some more, then some more with my parents. This talk took place a week ago, and I'm starting to feel a bit like an a-hole. Maybe for her education's sake, I should have forgiven her? My parents would have still asked for it, But maybe if I stood with Devon, they would have backed off. So now I want to know from a different perspective. Am I the a-hole or not? Not involving the police because of personal reasons. Our families are close, and it would be disrespectful to do so. Edit. Dad didn't allow me to get it insured because it was stupid, and I was 16 and couldn't do anything by myself. A payment plan won't work because my plan is to buy a replacement necklace. Since a similar style from the same brand is available now, and I don't know if it will be for more time. So they have to give me the money ASAP and all together. Second edit. My parents are going to involve the cops. I don't know the details, but that's what they said just now. Not the a-hole. She lost it, and then tried to hide that from you. Then her whole family laid an emotional guilt trip on you to pressure you into basically gifting her a $20K necklace, which is the last thing your dead grandma ever gave you. Heck no. Are you sure it's even lost? That necklace would be a great way to bulk up a college fund. Edit. I do agree with many other comments that you probably shouldn't have lent it out. However, that is done and can't be taken back, and the necklace is gone and can't be given back. Now she needs to make it right. A payment plan would be a great way to do that without sacrificing her future. Everyone sucks here. You should never have allowed someone to borrow a necklace that was not only that expensive, but also held sentimental value to you. That was your mistake in the first place. Your friend should have been more responsible with an item that didn't belong to her and should have given it right back as soon as the ceremony was over. While I do understand you wanting to be paid back for the cost of the necklace, it was also your bad decision in the first place to let the necklace go. And now you're asking your friend to sacrifice her entire education to pay you back for something that can never be replaced. I, female 26, have known my fiancé, male 38, for 4 years. We're Christians and ran in the same circle at church in Georgia. We became best friends over 2 years, dated for a year, got engaged, and are set to be married July 3rd. We are both saving ourselves for marriage. We have not had S. I am a virgin, but he has quite an extensive S history from his 20s, but has long since changed. He has repented for his behavior, and I promised myself that him and I wouldn't shame him for his previous choices. Those choices, however, did come with consequences. My fiancé has a young son from a previous relationship. Things are clean between him and his ex. They are co-parenting very well. His son is almost 9 years old now, and I love him dearly, and I was ready and prepared to enter his life as a stepmom. A little over a month ago, a woman that he drunkenly hooked up many years ago with began alleging that my fiancé was the father of her 3-year-old son. He was stunned, and I was floored. She was in a relationship, but they broke up, and now she needs additional financial and parental support for her son. She apparently tested as many guys as she could, and by process of elimination, decided on my fiancé as the only option left. He took the test, and the results just came back. He's the father. This isn't what I signed up for when we got engaged, and it's not the life I committed to marrying into. I'm young, and I'm not ready to be a mother of 2 kids, and I don't want to share my husband with 2 other women. I love him so much it hurts, but this life isn't the life I wanted. He's tried being accommodating, and he's tried comforting me, but there's only so much words can do when the situation hasn't changed. I don't want to split up with him, but I'm pretty sure 2 weeks won't be enough for me to know whether or not I'm ready to marry him. I'm running out of time to make this call the longer I wait, and I just don't know what to do. This man is the love of my life, and I feel like I'm being stupid for making such a big deal out of this, but also, I am not ready. I hate that I'm struggling with this, and it's not fair to my fiancé, but it's not fair to our families who have made travel arrangements. I'm flip-flopping between canceling it completely, pushing it back, but running the risk of a second pandemic wave, or just going ahead with it. I'm not at all convinced that we wouldn't make it through this. It's a challenge, and I'm young, but I don't want to be loveless for the rest of my life because I left my person. Note that neither he nor his family are on the hook for the cost of the wedding, aside from personal travel. Everything has come from me and my family, and we're comfortable enough to take the financial hit without worry. Edit. I fear I'm being a hypocrite. I don't want to punish this man that I love. He deserves love, and it's been hard for him to find healthy romantic relationships because of his own immaturity in the past. But now he's ready, and he's of course devastated, and is doing everything in his power to prove and explain that we can work. He wants to start therapy immediately. Am I blowing this out of proportion? I don't even know if I am asking all the right questions. You're not making a big deal. This is a big ducking deal. He has 2 children, each from a different mother, and for all we know, he may have more. Love is important, but so are logistics. The reality of your relationship has changed drastically, and not in your favor. It will be difficult to say the least, but you owe yourself a clean slate for marriage. I am not referring to his history. Being a virgin doesn't necessarily dictate one's integrity in romantic relationships and marriage. The clean slate I'm talking about is a marriage that has all options and roads open ahead. Cross-country move for work on the table? Nope, he's got kids. You want to splurge on your own kid's nursery? Nope, he's got child support payments to make. That's how I see the situation anyhow. You should call off the wedding. This man is much older than you. He is much more experienced than you, and he already came with a crap ton of baggage before you found out about this new child. You say he repented when he joined the church and had an extensive history in his 20s, but he conceived this child when he was 35 and already supposedly reformed. The child is 3. None of this happened many years ago. No amount of therapy will change this. Therapy won't make his second child or the responsibilities that come with that go away. If you go through with this, you'll always have to deal with the fact that you have to take 2 whole other families into account financially, logistically, and emotionally. You're so young. You don't need to sign up for this life no matter how much you love him. You won't be loveless for the rest of your life because you let this one go. You're only 26, and you don't have a metric ton of baggage.